I'm not kidding. There he is. It's our good friend, Mr. Potato Head. And that's probably going to be your celebrity sighting on today's tour. Also passing by on the left, you'll see a famous bungalow going by. Bungalow 5195. Very familiar silhouette headed next to that number. That bungalow used to belong to world-famous director, Mr. Alfred Hitchcock.
Lou said he could move into that office. I said, no, I can never be in Hitchcock's office. That should be a shrine, a museum.
Very exciting, just to know that he was there and walk by and know he was in that office. Hitchcock has influenced every director.
I saw Hitchcock once walking around the commissary.
Hitchcock had his bungalow on the lot.
I used to go see Alfred Hitchcock.
I loved working with him. I highly respect him. He really understood fear and terror.
The Birds, that was a really scary movie.
The Birds? Oh man, that had me looking at crows like for the next 10 years.
Psycho, of course. Vertigo was one of the all-time great masterpieces. Hitchcock was master.
We've left the front lot portion of the tour behind, and right now we find ourselves in the Universal Studios back lot. This is where we film the really big stuff. We're going to show you what we call exterior sets. Those are outdoor sets with a very large scale. And you can't help but notice, passing by the right, all these really big and cool-looking buildings. We call this area in the back lot the Universal Studios Metro sets. If you can, peek at the doorways and the windows of the buildings as they go by. You'll notice something a little strange about these structures. These buildings are totally empty. That's because they're not real. They're what we call facades. They're just the fronts and sides of these structures. We only build what the camera will see. Your imagination fills in the rest. What even looks like real brick and stone is merely just foam rubber and fiberglass. Keep in mind, if you ever see actors enter these buildings in TV shows and movies and those actors are standing in a room in the next scene, that room was probably built on one of the sound stages that we passed by on the front lot. The Metro sets are divided into different areas here in the back lot. Right now we're going to cross over to one of the most recognizable areas of the Metros. We're going to visit what we call Courthouse Square. Let me tell you up front, Courthouse Square has been featured in literally hundreds of productions over the years. You will recognize it, but something tells me you're going to recognize Courthouse Square from this little movie right here. This is Michael J. Fox looking up at the famous clock tower building from Back to the Future. As we come around the bend, take a look over on the left, you'll see that gazebo. And if you look behind the gazebo, you'll see that building that says City Hall on it. That's the same building you're looking at. And on today's tour, I have with us producer Bob Gale. He produced Back to the Future along with Christopher Lloyd, who played Doc Brown in the Back to the Future trilogy, to tell you guys how much fun it was to film Back to the Future right here at Courthouse Square.
It was actually the back lot, the Courthouse Square, that inspired the entire climax to Back to the Future.
I had scenes up at the clock tower on that ledge. There was a ledge about that wide. And I was standing inside looking at the ledge, and I already had vertigo. I just thought, there's no way in the world, no way I'm going to stand on that. I was up there for quite a while. Of course, I had a cable.
Courthouse Square doubled as the town of Hill Valley for all three of the Back to the Future films. As I told you earlier, it does pop up in a lot of productions. In fact, recently, you may have seen Courthouse Square on Fox's House, ABC's Desperate Housewives, NBC's Parenthood, and of course, Courthouse Square doubled as the town of Grandview for the TV show Ghost Whisperer, starring Jennifer Love Hewitt. We're going to leave Courthouse Square behind, and we're getting ready to turn down one of the most popular areas of the Metro sets. We're going to turn on to what we call New York Street. As we come around the bend, you can tell why we call this area New York Street. If you take a look to the left, New York Street looks like Manhattan on that side. And the farther down New York Street we go, the more it looks a little more like Brooklyn. And I can tell you guys how we use New York Street here at Universal, but I have somebody on the tour that knows New York better than I do, because that's where he shoots his show late night. It's my co-host, Jimmy Fallon.
Hey everyone, welcome to New York! I got my start right here in New York on Saturday Night Live. This is actually my old neighborhood. Once got mugged over there. An old woman. Tough lady. This is my favorite hot dog guy. Hey buddy, how's it going? Remember me? No. Just like old times. Gotta love New York City. Hey! I'm walking here! Hey, it's cool guys. I was just walking there. So it's not exactly New York, but a lot of times when you see New York in the movies, it was shot right here on the Universal Metro sets. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Even if you make it here on the Universal lot.
You can see New York Street double as New York City on the big screen right now. It's Sony's The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. And you may have seen New York Street on TV recently, especially if you watch Criminal Minds or NCIS, both on CBS television. Now guys, we call this area the Metro sets for a reason, because we can transform these buildings into any city around the United States or the world, not just New York City. but also downtown Los Angeles, downtown Chicago, even downtown London, England, if we need them to be. So the metro sets can double as anywhere on the planet, pretty much, because every city has a city. Think about that one. Now, of course, how can we talk about New York Street without talking about its most famous or infamous resident, big old King Kong? If you're new to the tour, you guys probably didn't know. Back in 2008, we had a little bit of a fire here in the metro sets that devastated all the buildings surrounding us. These buildings that you see right now are only about 2.5 years old. They look older than they are because we make them look that way. If they look brand new, they would look fake on film. We lost a good friend out here in the metro sets, an old King Kong animation that used to be on the tour before King Kong 360 3D. But the new King Kong was brought to us with a little bit of help from Academy Award-winning director, Mr. Peter Jackson.
It's the original King Kong that made me want to direct movies. I saw that movie on TV when I was about 8.